Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About Clutter. I'm your host, Margo. And today we're going to be talking about how to let go of sentimental items, or those items that are really, really hard to part with. Have you been decluttering but find yourself getting stuck? I was recently working with a client and she hired me to help her declutter her closets, and we took everything out and sorted them into categories because that tends to be the easiest way to kind of identify how much stuff we have. And then she was supposed to go through each item and decide what to keep, toss, donate, or sell. And she had a very, very, very hard time letting go. She was very adamant about keeping 90% of her stuff. And even those items that she was willing to part with, she would find herself running over to the toss pile, picking them up, and putting them back in the keep pile. So if you find yourself struggling letting go, but yet frustrated and irritated by all the clutter that's in your home, this podcast is for you. Letting go of our things is not easy, especially when we assign value to them. The question is, should you let them go at all? And if so, how do you decide what to keep and what to part with? So here are some practical ways to get you unstuck when decluttering those near and dear items. This is assuming that you want to get rid of them at all. I probably don't have to convince you that decluttering your home, your space, your closets, your kitchens has so many incredible benefits. But let's see if I can help you get unstuck. Number one, never start decluttering with sentimental stuff. It is a big no-no. You want to work your way up to the more sentimental items because decluttering sentimental items can be an emotional journey. So you want to start with something very easy. Start with things that are small, that are incredibly easy to get rid of, things that just automatically go into the toss pile. So you can begin by, decluttering your clothing or makeup or hygiene items, kitchen utensils. Your pantry is a great place to start with because you essentially just toss anything that has an expiration date. If you're new to decluttering, or if you find yourself struggling to declutter, right? If you're a beginner, then you are nowhere close to being able to comfortably declutter those sentimental items. So my recommendation is start incredibly small, start easy, and work your way up, right? Build that momentum to the items that are a little bit more challenging to get rid of. If you are decluttering and you happen to encounter an item that is a sentimental item, put it to the side, maybe even have a box and label it sentimental items. Put it to the side, put it in the box, put it to the side, and get to it later. You don't have to force yourself to part with these items. So never start with decluttering sentimental items. Number two, what might help you when you're up to those sentimental items or those items that you've assigned value to. You want to change your mindset a little bit. Hold on to the person or the memory, not the thing. The older we get, the more sentimental items we have. Especially if you're a mother, the sheer amount of child artwork and little trinkets we hold on to makes us go, "Aw," right? So I'm not going to lie, I've actually held on to my daughter's first bunny, my daughter's first hat, and a Led Zeppelin t-shirt that I absolutely love. So those are the three items that I've held on to, and I will never part with them, and I am okay with that. We all know that oftentimes picking up sentimental items can spark a memory, and the memory can be happy or it could be sad. What you need to remember is that memories exist regardless of the item. We hold on to these memories in our head and in our heart, so sometimes there's just absolutely no need for the item itself. A great tip for this, if you find yourself kind of in between letting go and keeping the item, and you're in that ambivalent phase, and if you want to tip the scales a little bit, what has worked incredibly well for a lot of folks is to take a picture of the item. You can even create a photo album where you keep these memories, but taking a picture, you can still revisit the item, revisit the feelings, right? If you're a visual person and you need to look at something in order to spark memories, taking a picture of the item can be an incredibly helpful way to allow you to finally part with the item. By the way, if you haven't done so already, feel free to come say hi to me on Instagram at Be Good to Yourself by Margo or on Facebook at Margo Staten. Number 3, and this is going to blow your mind. You don't actually have to let go of every sentimental item. There's a lot of things in the media where it's like you see all these homes and it's just like a couch and bare walls, right? Like extreme minimalism. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with minimalism. Some people love the style, others don't. Minimalism doesn't have to be for everybody. And decluttering in general, whether it's sentimental items or regular items, does not mean getting rid of absolutely everything and only keeping a few items. Clutter-free is incredibly subjective. It's whatever it means for you and your family and your lifestyle. So the truth is, you do not have to get rid of everything that you have. You do not have to part with that leather jacket that reminds you of your partner who maybe passed away. You do not have to get rid of maybe beautiful china that belonged to your mother. Even if you don't use these things, it is absolutely okay to hold on to them. What's not okay is if you have a lot of clutter and you assign sentimental value to all of your items. That is going to make it very, very difficult for you to be able to achieve a clean and tidy space. It's really all about balance. So it's realistically keeping things that bring you joy, that serve a purpose, and that you use on a daily, monthly, or yearly basis. With that said, if you find yourself saying everything must stay, everything has sentimental value, ask yourself why. Why is it important for you to keep this item? What purpose does this item serve? Does it benefit you, right? Does it add value to your life, your home, your space? While I have a number of sentimental things that I've held on to, how I've been able to avoid the look of clutter is by placing them into a box and labeling the box sentimental items and then putting it away on the top shelf of my closet. So I highly encourage you, if there are items that you just can't part with, you don't have to part with them. Collect them, put them in a box or a bin, and store them in a closet, underneath the bed, in your attic, in your garage. Next, what I find really, really helps folks in parting with some of these sentimental items or items that we've assigned value to is to donate or give those items away to friends and family. So while it's hard to part with certain things, it might be so helpful when you're letting go when you pass those items to somebody who needs them. You give those items away to make people happy. You donate these items to those folks who can't afford them. Something about giving, right? That kind of giving mindset really helps us get rid of the stuff in our space. Our clutter is another person's treasure. So envision the smile on the face of someone who's able to benefit from your things. A child whose family doesn't have enough money to keep up with buying new clothing every season. Or maybe parents who can't afford to buy toys or even basic necessities. What about someone who doesn't go outside in the winter because they can't afford a winter coat? The list goes on. We sometimes forget how blessed we are to be able to have things. There are others out there who don't have the luxury of thinking, let's buy a new coffee mug. Instead, they're worried about their next meal. Try shifting your mindset from, I need all these things, to, these things can benefit somebody else. Giving is a wonderful thing. Next, when it comes to getting rid of sentimental items or things that you're attached to, is take your time. There's absolutely no rush, so please don't pressure yourself into letting go. A lot of times we like build up this momentum and we're like atomically going in and we're like, we're just going to get rid of all of these things. And we accidentally get rid of stuff that we actually needed. And then we feel guilty and bad about it. And we feel sad about it. If you're struggling parting with something, put it to the side and come back to it later. If you're still struggling to get rid of it, what you can also do, what has been very, very helpful, is you can put some items away and then in 6 months, you can revisit the box. And if you're still reluctant to part with these items, then keep them. 6 months later, as you're maybe decluttering other areas of your home, maybe you find that you really can, in fact, declutter, give away, toss, or donate these items. We don't want to force ourselves to part with something immediately and create an emotional roller coaster for ourselves. So go at your own comfortable pace. Next, what might help you declutter your space is to assess the usefulness of each item. Maybe this isn't a sentimental item. Maybe this is just an item that was an impulse buy or an item that was a gift that you're struggling to part with. Ask yourself, have you used it? Will you use it? If the answer is no, if you haven't used it, if you won't use it, go ahead and part with it. Another quick tip that really, really helps is to set a time limit. So if you're struggling letting go of an item, give yourself a time limit to use it. So sometimes what happens is we're like, you know what? I'm probably going to use this item in the next 6 months, or I'm going to need this item in the next year. Great, no problem. Give yourself that time. And if you don't use the item within the time frame, well, then you can go ahead and part with the item. And finally, when it comes to holding on to things, right? Holding on to clutter, holding on to excessive clutter, I want you to consider the cost. If keeping the item is causing you mental strain, it is just not worth it. If holding on to this item is causing you anxiety, is making you sad, is contributing to a lot of clutter in your space, it might not be worth keeping the item. We oftentimes prioritize other things over ourselves. So items that you keep in your home should add value, should bring you joy. If a particular item is not serving you, if it's doing the complete opposite, it's shaming you, it's reminding you of bad memories, why is that item worth more than you are? Why is that item worth the pain that it's causing you? If it has to do with you spending money on the item and you feel guilty because you feel wasteful throwing it out, the money has already been spent. You cannot get that money back. But I promise you that if you let that item go in a week, in 2 weeks, in 3 weeks, you're going to forget all about it. And your mental health and your mindset will be much better for it. The truth is, ladies, decluttering takes time, and parting with our sentimental items is not easy. I encourage you to take it one day at a time, but start, like now, as in while you're listening to this podcast. You can achieve a clutter-free, clean, and tidy home. It will take time. It will take effort. It'll at times be incredibly emotional and overwhelming, but you will get there. Thank you so much for listening. Good luck on your decluttering journey, and always remember to be good to yourselves.